Alan, so that decision by the state attorney to file charges, or there's probable cause now to file charges against some of the officers involved. How significant is this? And I suppose the question is anything going to come out of this?
Well, the Police Officers Union, the Fraternal Order of Police Officers, already criticising the decision, saying that the 6 officers did nothing wrong, and they're already tying the state's attorney to the lead officer, the lead attorney for the Gray family, saying that he was her biggest campaign contributor in the recent election. He was part of her transition team. Although, as she herself pointed out, she comes from a number of generations of police officers. Her father is a police officer, her mother is a police officer, and as she said, her grandfather was one of the police officers who established an order for black police officers in Massachusetts. Certainly the charges are quite detailed, what she's outlined. She said that there was one case of second-degree murder, a number of manslaughters that would be raised against the officers, and misconduct in public office. And of course, one of the big questions will be, what was the probable cause? What did this man do wrong to be detained by police? He hadn't committed a crime. There was no reason for him to be detained, and yet he was placed in the back of a police van. And that is what some of the demonstrators will focus on as well. Why was he arrested? Was it simply because he was black? Would they have done this to someone who was white and acted in the same way? And so by taking the steps that she's done, by saying, look, we're pursuing justice, everyone needs to calm down, she's trying to put calm on the streets of Baltimore, although fully acknowledging that people have the right to demonstrate in these circumstances.
Yeah, Alan, I suppose the bigger picture is we've seen several of these high-profile cases where black African-American men have been killed by the police or in police custody. How much pressure is the Obama administration under to deal with these allegations of police brutality?
Well, this is going to come in 2 steps, of course. The Obama administration essentially says when it comes to these investigations, they've got to be handled by the relevant authorities. And we saw in Ferguson the Justice Department stepping in and making inquiries there to find out if there was systemic, if not institutional racism in that force. But of course, as Barack Obama pointed out earlier this week, this is a much larger problem. You can't just focus on the issues in Baltimore when it's in flames. You have to look at the underlying systemic issues, such as the opportunity to education, the fact that unemployment rates in many parts in Baltimore are incredibly high, and the long-term unemployment rates are incredibly high. So therefore, what do you do to try and resolve these problems? Because when people are expressing frustration, it's not simply about these issues, the issues of black men being detained by police and then something unfortunate happening to them. It is also about the way that they have been treated over 40 years. People were making parallels, and there was a very famous magazine article saying 1968, after the assassination of Martin Luther King and the riots in Baltimore, and now what has changed. And if you go onto the streets in Baltimore, many people in certain communities will say not enough or very little, and they are looking for systemic change. And that, of course, will have to be driven by the White House through programs, through education, and through making sure that Baltimore and other cities and other areas have the money to combat the issues which are long-standing and systemic.